In this video, I will discuss force diagrams and I will illustrate how you can draw a force diagram in various physical situations. The way that I like to write forces is always, of course, always the line on top of the uppercase F letter. This makes it clear that this is a vector. For the subscript, I use the following notation from A to B. So this is the force that object A exerts on object B. This is a single-headed arrow, the force from A to B. And then as a superscript, I use the lowercase c for contact force, lowercase g for gravitational, lowercase e for electric, and m for magnetic. Now, in mechanics, the first semester of introductory physics, we typically talk about contact and gravitational forces. So mainly we will be using these two superscripts. Now, let's say I will do a few force diagrams to illustrate how you can use them. So if you have a very simple physical phenomenon, you have a book on the surface of the earth. Okay, so this is our book and it is on the surface of the earth. Now, before we do the force diagram, it is very helpful to do the system schema because this allows us to see the interaction. So we have the book and we have the earth. These are the two objects. We have the contact interaction and we have the gravitational interaction. Now, if I choose the system to be the book, then I will draw the force diagram for that system. So I define my system to be the book, and in this case my force diagram is going to start with a dot, and this dot represents the system. This dot in this case represents the book. Now, the system schema is useful because you can see how many interactions you have. The system, the book, interacts via a contact interaction and a gravitational interaction with the surroundings, the earth. So when you draw the force diagram for your system, in this case, since there are two interactions, there should be two forces on your force diagram. Okay, let's start with one. The gravitational interaction that the earth has with the book. There should be a force from the earth on the book. This gravitational force, as we know, points straight down. So this is an arrow that points straight down. Uppercase F, it's a vector force. It is a gravitational force. Now, the first letter, so I will do the first letter of the object that exerts the force is E for earth. And then this force is exerted on the book, so from the earth on the book. Now there is also another contact force from the earth on the book, and because the earth is pushing on the book upwards, this contact force will point straight up. So this is the contact force. This points straight up. Again, uppercase F for any force, it's a vector force. Now this is a contact force, and this is again from the earth on the book. Okay, now note here a few some important points. Both of these forces are exerted on the book. So you can see here that this is B, this is also B, and the reason is because this is the system is the book. If you had a different letter here and here, then something is wrong with your force diagram. The book is your system, so all forces that you have acting on the book, they should have this letter. So this should be always be for the force diagram of the book. Okay, now we can do we can do some more examples. Let's say that we have, now this is going to be a little bit more complicated. Now we have a book, but the book is not on the earth. The book is on a brick. So you have a brick over here. You have the two holes. This is a brick. And then the brick is on the surface of the earth. Okay. Now, again, I will do the same thing. I will start with the system schema to see what interactions I have. So I will do, I have the book. This is object 1. I have the brick. And then I also have the earth. Now, the interactions. Here we have to be a little bit careful. The earth, you can see the earth is in contact with the brick. So I have a contact interaction between the earth and the brick. Now, the book is in contact with the brick also. So I have a contact interaction between the book and the brick. However, the book is not in contact with the earth. So there is no contact interaction between the book and the earth. Now, the earth has a significant gravitational interaction with the brick. So I have this interaction. The earth also has a significant gravitational interaction with the book. So I have another significant gravitational interaction. There is, in principle, a gravitational interaction between the book and the brick. If you think about it, there is in principle a gravitational interaction between you and any other object around you, but that interaction is really tiny. It is not significant. So we will neglect the gravitational interaction between the book and the brick. Okay. Now, if I choose the system to be the book, again, so this is the system. Now I will draw the force diagram in the following way. I have a gravitational interaction between the earth and the book. So I have a force, and this is a gravitational force from the earth on the book. Now, it is not the earth in contact with the book, but it is the brick that is in contact with the book. And the brick is pushing on the book upwards. So there is an upward force, and it is a contact force from the brick on the book. Now, because both the book and the brick start with a B, I also include the R to indicate that this is the brick. So this is the force, the contact force from the brick on the book. Okay, so this is another case where you have another force diagram. Now, one last thing about contact forces. If you have a case, so let's say this is the ceiling, and you have a spring hanging from the ceiling, and then this is connected to, let's say we have a book right here. Now, in this case, you have the book, you have the spring, and I will not separate the ceiling from the earth. So I will just say, okay, the earth, and that includes the ceiling that the spring is in contact with. So I have the earth. Now, the earth via the ceiling is in contact with the spring. So I have this contact interaction. Now the spring is in contact with the book, so there is a contact interaction there, and the earth has a gravitational interaction with both of these. So I have a gravitational interaction with both, and I will neglect the gravitational interaction between the book and the spring. Now, if I choose the system to be the book, again, we see we have two interactions between the book and the surroundings, a contact and a gravitational. So as before, I will have the gravitational force from the earth on the book, point straight down. Now, this is the tricky part. even though the spring is in contact with the book. However, in this case, the spring is not pushing on the book. The spring is pulling the book upwards. So the contact force points up. The contact force from the spring on the book. Okay, so whenever you have a contact interaction like this case, you have to think, is that object pushing the other one, or is it pulling the other one? And this will help you decide the direction of the contact force.